There's something that I haven't told you guys, and I just have to say it. His family doesn't know about our engagement.
Indian man doesn't tell his family about older American girlfriend. Where have we heard this one before? Sumit? Jenny? Is that you?
I'm uprooting my entire life for him, so I'm counting on him to marry me, no matter what his family or anyone else says.
Do they even know you're his girlfriend? He introduced me as a friend.
Blazing red flag.
Okay, so while Jenny and Sumit have consumed so many of my thoughts since they first appeared on the show, I really think, that I finally have room in my heart for another problematic American and Indian duo. So, meet Rishi. He's a 32-year-old fitness instructor and model, and apparently he's the only man in Jaipur, a city of 9.2 million people, who has long curly hair.
I love my hair. I'm the only one here in my city who has a long hair with the curl. It's my image, basically. Some people say that I look like an Indian Jesus.
Now, I'm not gonna lie, Rishi comes across as kinda superficial, and my first impression was that he didn't really have much going on upstairs. But the guy has a law degree and a master's degree, so under that mop of hair, he's definitely a smart cookie.
I have a law degree from the law college, and I also have a master degree from the University of Rajasthan.
Having worked so hard to get a job in law and begin his legal career, he then completely packed it in because he didn't like working a 9 to 5 and decided to transition into fitness. And then came the modelling, which he claims he kind of just fell into.
It was not my dream. People want it from me and they pushed me, and I tried it once and it's boom.
And look, he's clearly an attractive man. He's in great shape. You've got to imagine that he gets lots of attention from the ladies.
I don't need to give any effort. They approach themselves to speak with me.
But this might become a bit of a problem for him, especially if he were to date, I don't know, say a woman with a long history of jealousy issues, perhaps? Speaking of which, meet Jen.
I'm Jen, and I'm 46 years old, and I live in Stillwell, Oklahoma.
Now, Jen is a bit of a free spirit and adventurer.
I'm a bit of a nomad.
And it seems she doesn't stay in one place for too long.
Jennifer has been traveling since she was 10 years old, and she's never been one to hold back.
And it was while on her travels in India that Jen bumped into Rishi in a hotel lobby. But based on their first meeting, it didn't seem like Jen was really into Rishi.
He was at the hotel for a modeling job.
We just started talking, and he started showing me modeling photos. And I just immediately went to hard pass.
I mean, what a chat-up line that is. Talk about coming across as being really in love with yourself. Hey, wanna see my modelling pictures? Still, Rishi must have made some kind of impact on her because after a bit of persistence and a few dates, Jen fell head over heels for him. Here she is sending him a video in which she calls him her first love.
I'll always love you. You're like my first love.
Kind of intense, right? I mean, the weirdness aside, Jen seems to know what she wants, and that isn't a traditional lifestyle. She's not after the children and the white picket fence.
I'm not going to do the 2.0 kids and live in a house in the suburbs. That's just not me.
But that kind of makes me wonder, how well does Jen understand Indian society? The societal expectations of women to be homemakers and have kids. We know that's very important for many Indian men. I just wonder how well Jen knows this. But another very important fact about Jen is that she has a terrible dating history.
I have a track record of falling for the wrong guys. I would choose guys who were good looking and very charismatic.
It's so bad, in fact, that it seems the closest people in her life, whether that be her family or her friends, won't let her forget about it, especially with her big move to India looming on the horizon.
Jen definitely does not pick the right men historically, or hasn't. Being on the other side of the world, having a track record that she does, I think it's a big risk.
She keeps repeating the same relationship patterns with different men.
Cue Jen proceeding to date another good-looking charismatic guy from India. But hey, Cupid strikes when he strikes, and he must have struck hard this time, because within a month of meeting, Rishi proposed to Jen, and she said yes.
It was completely out of the blue. We hadn't discussed the future, we hadn't discussed me leaving or staying or anything like that.
She reckons she's ready to put her nomadic lifestyle behind her. She's ready to settle down with someone.
I feel like I'm finally in a place where I found somebody that I'm ready to stay somewhere with.
Now, keep in mind, this was all 2 years ago. Thanks to COVID, it's been 2 years since Jen and Rishi have been together in person. Now, that, for any relationship, is a very long time apart. A lot can change in 2 years. And it seems like Jen's brother is very concerned about Rishi's commitment to her.
You're not concerned that he's tried to dodge you contacting you? I seem to recall you talking about him not responding.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds concerning, doesn't it? Now, while we don't know the specifics of the situation and whether, for example, Jen was just being insecure or whether Rishi really was cooling down his interest, it seems like that was enough to raise a few concerns with Jen.
He didn't ghost me or anything, but the contact wasn't as consistent as it was. And so we definitely went through a period where I had a lot of doubts.
Now, we do know that Jen, by her own admission, has struggled with jealousy issues in the past. I don't think 2 years apart in a long-distance relationship is particularly going to help her with those issues.
I know in relationships I tend to be jealous and possessive. After I first moved back to the States, I kind of spun out a couple times. If he didn't call me like at a certain time, I've thought the relationship is over.
Which brings us to the present day. After all this time apart, Jen is now counting down the days until she can go to India and see Rishi again. But with her trip fast approaching, her friends and family are all very concerned. Is Jen so desperately searching for love that she's turning a blind eye to all the issues in the relationship?
I think you are giving too much too fast in all your relationships. I don't mean to hurt you, but your heart wants love so bad that you're willing to freaking settle for whatever cute, tall guy.
So when we join Jen at a family dinner before she departs for India, it's very clear that her family love and support her, but are also very concerned about her.
She's always wanted to be loved. And if this is where she has to go to get it, I'm fine with it.
I don't want you to be sad. I mean, it's because I love you.
I know, you and I have a really strong bond, and it is really gonna be hard for me.
Jen's obviously sacrificing a lot to move to India to be with Rishi. She's leaving behind her family, her support system. But is Rishi responding in the same way?
There's something that I haven't told you guys, and I just have to say it. His family doesn't know about our engagement.
What's your plan to tell his mom?
We haven't talked about that. Really, we haven't gone there.
Oh dear, this doesn't look too good, does it? Now, from what we're told, Rishi's parents have given him the go-ahead to search for a love marriage. He's adamant he will not accept an arranged marriage. But I do wonder whether a love marriage to a non-Indian woman might, from the perspective of his parents, be taking it a step too far.
A love marriage and a love marriage with someone that's not Indian is like two different things.
So far, Rishi has only introduced Jen to his family as a friend. But surely the pair have talked about a game plan for how Rishi will formally introduce her to his parents. I mean, she is his fiancé after all. She is about to move to India to be with him in less than a week.
Gives me anxiety just like thinking about bringing it up.
But you're his fiance.
I know.
Wait, what? Anxiety to even talk to Rishi about it. Like, what does that say about their communication? What does Jen think that Rishi is going to say? Is that a sign that she's not willing to stir the pot because she believes he'll choose his family over her?
I have to admit, I do have doubts. What if I am wrong? And what if this is just another mistake? I'm uprooting my entire life for him, so I'm counting on him to marry me, no matter what his family or anyone else says.
Well, that brings us on to Jen's meeting with her old college friends. They know her better than most. They know, for example, that she has a history of ignoring red flags in a naive, blind pursuit of love.
This is the cycle with Jen. She moved somewhere for a guy. Once it was from Texas to DC. Once it was from Florida to Texas. Now, Oklahoma to India?
Now, what I like about Jen's friends is these are true friends right here. They don't hold back. They'll tell it to her straight, even if that means hurting her feelings.
I swear to God, with you, it's like if you want to look up insanity in the dictionary, there's a picture of you in there.
Oh my God.
I mean, you can definitely sense their frustration with her. This isn't the first time they've been down this road. In fact, they warned her about her first husband. There were a lot of red flags with that relationship too, and look how that turned out.
They didn't think he treated me well, and I was blind to it. It put a huge strain on our friendship. You cried and begged me not to marry him.
So this time around, with Rishi, both of her friends' spider senses are tingling again, especially when they find out Rishi hasn't told his family about the engagement.
His family doesn't actually know yet.
Blazing red flag.
Yep, sounds about right. I mean, that's hard to argue against, isn't it? Definitely a red flag that is hiding his fiancé. Jen's friends seem genuinely concerned about her decision to go to India to be with Rishi. One of the things that they question is whether or not Rishi has been faithful over the last 2 years.
Do you know if he's even dated anybody in between?
Yeah.
How would you even know that?
Do you trust him?
Honestly, yes, I do. I trust him.
I don't.
And with that, the ladies begin to hatch a plan to test Rishi's loyalty. They decide that they're going to test his loyalty by setting up a honey trap. Jen's friend is going to message Rishi on his Instagram and see whether or not he's open to her advances. This is wrong. I mean, it's morally wrong. And you've got to suspect that at some point in the future, this is likely to blow up in Jen's face.
So how about this? We can catfish him. I'm gonna send Rishi a message and see if he responds and how he responds.
So while Jen says that she trusts Rishi, the fact that she's letting her friend go ahead with this plan tells us all we need to know. She doesn't trust him. Well, not fully at least.
Get to know who you're really engaged to.
Okay.
So is she right to not trust him? What happens with this catfish attempt? Well, it's kind of a grey area. It kind of depends on how you see it. You see, it turns out that Rishi does respond to Jen's friends' messages. And while there are some red flags here, like why is he responding to a random girl in his DMs? I actually think that when you look at what he said, it's not actually that big a deal. At least not as big a deal as her friend wants Jen to believe.
I think it's kind of concerning.
Okay.
So I said, "Hi, I've been looking through your posts and I like what I see. How do you feel about me?" Rishi says, "Do we know each other?"
Rishi doesn't say or do anything incriminating. In fact, he seems to be a bit weirded out by the flirtation attempt.
"I know you from seeing your pics and I think you're attractive." Rishi writes back, "Okay, well, where are you from?"
Now, putting aside Randy's terrible flirting attempt, those are pretty innocent messages. But what it is doing is it's planting a seed of doubt in Jen's mind. Given that we know she's a jealous person already, you've got to imagine that that's not going to be good for Jen and Rishi's relationship.
He is willing to talk to any random girl online. That's how I see it. Look at the people he follows.
They're mostly females?
I think you know the answer to the question.
Look, I like drama as much as the next person, but I think it's a bit of a stretch to claim he can't be trusted because of the Instagram accounts he follows, or because of a pretty tame response to an Instagram DM. So are Jen's friends just stirring trouble where there is no trouble? Or do they have every right to be extra protective of her, especially given her history of bad judgment? Well, I guess it's only a matter of time before we discover whether Jen really is falling back into old patterns or whether Rishi is different.